What is up, everyone? Episode 25. Can't believe we made it here. My friend Jared McDonald, what is up? The Sunday evening, we're back.
Just the usual, just wrapping up things at the office. We were just talking about the show The Office, and the plan for this episode, the office quote, Michael, when he goes, sometimes I'll start a sentence and not know where it's going to go, or something along those lines.
Right,
That's
100%.
the plan for this show. But Tyler, what's up with you?
So, on that note, I don't know if this is real because I saw it on Facebook first, and you never know you can believe there. But this is Thursday, September 22nd. Oscar and Kevin Malone from The Office are coming to the SIU Student Center.
Really?
Yeah.
Would that be on SIU's calendar or anything like
I
that?
didn't. That's the thing. I haven't seen it on a calendar. That's the frustrating thing. But that is family weekend, I think, and so yeah. So now I'm super stoked for that. But anyway, a lot happened this week. This was a super big week. I feel like for sports in Kentucky, not necessarily sports. Is that fair to say? This was a huge week for sports in Kentucky, but none of it had to do with an actual game.
Yes. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I just thought about that. None of it had to do with an actual game this week.
Yeah, we were just talking about something that happened early this week, and we were both kind of like,
well, because
hard to believe it was still this week because so much has happened.
I said, hey, it was like Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm like, hey, we should talk about this. And you're like, it'll kind of fizzle out. And I'm like, I don't know, man. This is a big thing. Like, no, it'll fizzle out. It fizzled out.
Yeah. It might, one or two people in the next couple of weeks might be all grumbly about it.
Right.
But do you want to introduce what we're talking about?
So we can touch on it. Fred Cowgill, I forgot the station he's at in Louisville, but last year during a game at Trinity, he was injured on the sideline, and he came out on Monday morning that he was suing the Trinity school board, Trinity whatever, because they allowed people on the sideline, I think. Or too many people? Is that what he said? There were too many people on the sideline?
I think from what I saw, because it was too crowded.
Yeah. Did you see the video?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did too. But, yeah.
I mean,
I have been on more crowded sidelines than that.
Yeah, no, we were talking about this before, and I think we brought up Russellville, how one of their sidelines is really small, and then you have a cliff to the parking lot.
Yeah, that's
Ray Stadium.
I've covered a soccer regional there, or soccer district. I don't remember, and it must have been a regional because it was Todd County, and it was like a ball would kind of go over there, and you would hope it would hit one of like the railings that went across. But if they didn't, that ball was gonna go over that ledge and bounce for days down that parking lot. And then you had that part in the corner of the end zone that came up that you could, whenever you're playing football, you can go up there and also there's concrete on the field, right? Like where that walkway is almost.
I don't know if it's on the field, but it's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
The walls are there, yeah. But that's an old stadium, man. It's like kind of right in the middle of Russellville. It's really cool. I love it.
That's a cool one. Owensboro. Have you been to Owensboro? I don't think you have. I don't remember if you've been up there.
No. Rash? Is that the name of it?
Rash. Yeah. So
no, I haven't been there. I've driven by.
Rash is I've probably driven you by, honestly. It's right there by Old Hickory. It's near Old Hickory. But it's kind of just thrown in the middle of the school, and that's one of the tighter sidelines I've been on. for football. But bottom line is, I feel like we know the risks if we're in that position.
Right. But at the same time, I've seen a lot of people, especially sports media people in the state,
Yeah, yeah,
making a very big deal about it. And
right,
just sitting back and thinking about it for a minute, I don't, really think it's going to make that much of a difference. Let's be honest. A lot of the videos that people get aren't super high quality, aren't always great anyway.
right.
Even when they're standing right there on the field. Um, and I think about if I'm in that position, if I have medical bills associated with an
I don't
injury like
know,
that, I'm
Jared.
not saying I would
We've made so
pursue a.
much money in this business.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. I don't know the situation that deep, but I'm just saying I know what a lot of sports media people make, and I know most of them would have trouble paying medical bills
Right,
for an extreme injury like that.
right.
So that's why I'm not mad about it. It is what it is to me.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think a lot of it is kind of again, we know the risks now. I mean, you kind of roll with the punches. You did it during COVID anyway. If something happens and you say, "Hey," KHSA comes out and says, "Hey, you can't be on the sideline anymore of football games," then we'll just hope the press boxes get a little bit nicer.
Yeah,
Um,
it just seems like to me people are very quick to react to things, especially lately. I don't know if it's just because I'm scrolling through Twitter pretty frequently or whatnot. I don't know. Did you see the stuff that came out with the Washington Commanders this past week too?
no, I didn't see
Uh,
this one.
there was a one-on-one interview. I think it was a TV guy there.
Oh yes,
Talked to Carson
yes,
Wentz, and
with
then the
Carson Wentz.
president,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
the president of the Washington Commanders quote tweeted, a couple of like a cut clip from the interview of this reporter asking a couple of questions, and was like, he was mad at the questions that were asked, talking about how unprofessional it was and don't expect special access and or building rapport. Did you watch it? Did you listen to the questions?
I listened to a couple of them. The one about what, like, he's been super inconsistent
That
or
yeah, that's
something.
that yeah. The reporter said something along the lines of, that's the reports coming out of camp, consistently inconsistent. And he air quoted that's the term that a lot of people are using, and just
Yeah,
asked Carson Wentz about it, and
he's
he
like,
just
news to
answered it
me.
like a normal question. Yeah,
Yeah,
and like it wasn't a big deal. And then the other one in that clip, it was an 11-minute interview, I believe, and those
yeah,
were
I
the
think that's
two
right.
that
Yeah,
got clipped, talking about how the question was posed as they didn't want him in Philly, they didn't want him. I forget where was Carson Wentz else. Anyway, wherever it was, didn't
North
want him
Dakota
there.
State.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Do you feel like this is your last chance to prove that you can be a starting quarterback in
Indianapolis,
the NFL?"
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, yeah. Do you feel like this is your last chance to prove that you can be a starting quarterback in the NFL? Like, to me, that's a totally legitimate question. I mean,
I mean,
these
yeah,
people are trained, like they're media trained, or they at least they should be to answer
you
questions like
hope they are.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like those are two totally fair questions based on the past and what people are talking about.
I mean, given
Especially if you're getting
how
ready to sit down and do a one-on-one, you should expect questions like that. It's not all
I,
going to be softballs. Like, how's
I
your
mean,
day?
given how at one point he was, yes, he did not win that Super Bowl, but he did everything he needed to do to get his team to that Super Bowl. And then Sir Nick Foles came in and got the job done. But I think you're right. I think it is a valid question in that Indianapolis didn't go well. I think that's kind of fair to say. And then you go to Washington. I think this is kind of this is a legit last shot. I mean, he's got a pretty solid dude to throw to in Terry McLaurin. That's a pretty good security blanket for you that you can go to. I think it's fair. I do think, I don't know. I think we do kind of jump the gun a little bit. I mean, I've done it. I mean, I think the Cardinals are going to win the World Series or lose the World Series every day. Perfectly valid. After today, we're going to win it, by the way. Did you see it? Albert Pujols hit 2 homers today, by the way. But, yeah, I do think people kind of overreact. But I think it's very unfair to just blame the media. I think that's kind of something that's unfair.
I feel like
When,
that's been happening a lot lately too.
yeah, I feel like
The
somebody did that
the,
recently.
the responses, sticking with this topic for just another minute. The responses to that interview were like, "This guy's a clown. He's asking clown questions. Why are they
Right.
treating him so poorly?" I mean that.
But on the flip side,
Yeah,
if he's up there asking, all right, Carson, um,
it's not like he was straight up saying, "Carson, you suck. Why?" It's just like,
yeah,
legitimately, if he's being inaccurate, like, how do you not be?
like,
If you're
hey,
asking, people
you've been
don't realize, like,
inconsistent. Go ahead.
yeah, people don't think about how many questions do you think we ask as reporters in a year or a season like that? If you're a daily beat reporter,
Oh my, like how
a lot.
many?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
lot.
it's a lot. They're not
Yeah,
all going to come out the way you perfectly written down questions would. If you're a person on Twitter just wasting your day away trolling people and commenting on stuff that has
yeah,
nothing to
fair.
do with you. I've asked some bad questions. I've asked some stupid questions.
Yeah,
I ask some questions just joking around sometimes to mix things up and have some
lighten the
fun.
mood a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one
but
thing our friend Ed Marlowe would do sometimes with Matt McMahon at Murray State. He would ask silly questions, and then
didn't he wear like a doctor's outfit in there one time or something?
man, I don't know. Like, I don't know how McMahon. I don't know how he didn't throw him out of every press conference, honestly. But whatever. Um,
What was
yeah,
the other big news, man? There was some exciting stuff in the bluegrass this week.
just two teams that play for the same team fighting against each other.
Yeah,
I mean, just honestly. So what Jared is alluding to is the fact that Coach Cal called Kentucky a basketball school. If you've been living under a rock the last couple days, whatever. But that's where it comes down to. He said basically Kentucky's a basketball school. It was in him wanting a new practice facility was his reasoning for saying this. Um, then basically saying, I mean, you've got your Alabamas, your Georgias, those are also football schools. He's like, but I do hope the football team wins 10 games every year, gets to a bowl, all of those things. Stoops responded. Vince Marrow responded. Who's the kicker for Kentucky that responded? I
Max
posted it in the
Duffy.
group. Max
Max
Duffy
Duffy,
responded.
punter, I believe.
Punter responded multiple times. Who has
Interesting.
also forgotten that Western Kentucky beat Kentucky football, but whatever. Um, yeah, and so everybody got on Cal because Cal hasn't won a lot lately, and people like bringing that up. But bottom line, I mean, it's Kentucky. Jared,
This
you're
comes out.
from Maine. Jared, you're from Maine. So whenever you're growing up in the wilderness and you're sitting and with your Allens, I say Allens, like you're 21. I'm not gonna say like you're 12 and drinking Allens. I mean,
28.
if you were, that's fine. Um, I'm saying like back then, not right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Back then.
Back then.
When you thought of Kentucky, did you think football power or basketball power?
Well, back then, it wasn't relevant in football. It wasn't relevant until I went to a Kentucky football game. Let's make that very
Okay,
clear.
okay, okay. I
My,
feel like we're jumping, but whatever. Go ahead. I'm gonna let
no,
you have
what?
this one.
No, go back to 2016. Look at my first Kentucky football game. They played New Mexico State. What's happened
Aggies.
since then? Yeah, they beat them in a shootout.
Uh huh.
I think they were 0-2 earlier that season. They lost to Southern Miss to open it up, then got um, clobbered. I was looking for the right word there. That was appropriate, family friendly. Clobbered by Florida,
Got their butts
and then I came
kicked.
and I turned that program around. But yeah, no, it was definitely considered a basketball school. They were not relevant. Nobody cared about football. up until that point. Now it is a football. They've got a pretty good. They're not great yet, but a very good SEC football team.
Yeah.
They've been competitive for one of those top 2 or 3 spots in the SEC East at least. They're not cellar dwellers anymore, and you got to give Mark Stoops credit for that. And give Mitch Barnhart credit for that too, because he let him build the program. He gave him the time to build the program. He didn't jump the gun and say, "Nope, you're gone," after 2 or 3 seasons,
Right,
like a
right.
lot of SEC ADs would
Yeah,
do.
yeah. He let him have a little bit of breathing room. It wasn't
Yes.
hey man, you've got 2 years, you got to turn around and you're out. I mean, he's let him kind of, like you said, cultivate, kind of build that program.
That being said, nationally speaking, I think more people look at it and are more aware, have more interest in the basketball program at Kentucky than they do football. But, even though they have that, the football program, you could say it's more important to the athletics department as a whole in some regards. Because, it's that SEC money, it's that CFP money, stuff like that a lot of people might not think about. Just being in the SEC is a big thing for them.
That's why do you think all of these other teams are trying to get into the SEC? It's not because, number one, super good competition. Number two, you get more stuff. That's whenever people are talking about Notre Dame, when are they finally going to go to a conference?
I hope they don't.
I just don't.
They don't really need to right now. They get that NBC money. They get that NBC money. They've got private money. People want to play Notre Dame. It's not like they'll have trouble putting schedules together.
That's true. That's a fair point.
And if you can, why not? It's kind of like I'm Notre Dame.
It's kind of like a yeah. Can you do that again? Can you do that like that? The head nod.
I'm Notre Dame.
Yeah, but and then to kind of go more into the Kentucky thing, and then I think Saturday, Mitch Barnhart, Kentucky AD, came out and said that media had kind of blown it out of proportion a little bit. I don't think that's 100% correct. I think
I wouldn't say that's any percent correct. Mark Stoops was the one that called him out, and that's what.
Yeah, Mark Stoops called him out. And that's
what almost immediately too.
I think that's what Feinbaum said on Thursday. Was the story was that Stoops responded. I don't know. I think it's spicy. Adds a little bit more to Kentucky being in the Bahamas going 4-0. But
if you're Stoops, you kind of have to respond, but it makes it worse. And then
fair.
But then Stoops also responded again Saturday and said, our program wasn't born on third base. Kind of taking a shot at Cal taking over a really, storied Kentucky basketball program. That was a good line, though.
I just want them to all get along, man.
Yeah, why can't we all just be friends?
Why can't we all just be friends? What are you watching, Jared? You watching anything good in your busy time?
Not anything new. I restarted Friday Night Lights because it's fall, and I love it in the fall.
It's so good.
I've so much work right now at like this time of year that it's one of those things that if I need to get some work done, it's just on in the background.
Yeah, I have that noise.
Because I haven't really been able to watch some of these preseason NFL games because of the channels that they're on and whatnot. I don't have your fancy.
I just kind of forget.
Honestly, well, I've been paying attention because a few of Western Kentucky's former players made their preseason debuts this past week.
Right, I saw your interview with Western something coach or somebody's interview with somebody's West
co-OC and quarterbacks coach Ben Arbuckle, the play caller. Yeah, he was an offensive analyst this past year. Got promoted when Zach Kitley, the OC, left for the Texas Tech job. But he had also worked with Zach Kitley and Bailey Zappi down at HBU, Houston Baptist, before they all came to Western Kentucky. And he said he texted Bailey the next morning. I was like, "Hey man, that was a nice interception you threw." just trying to joke around with him and stuff. But Zappy had a pretty solid debut. I think it was 19 of 32 passing, 205 yards, a touchdown, and an interception.
I mean,
They
that's
didn't play
solid.
most of their starters. Most of the teams, I would say, this past week didn't play most of their starters, but not a bad day. Got some reserved praise from Bill Belichick, so that's
He
always cool.
smiled after the game. Did you see that?
Yeah, he's not as bad as people make him out to be.
Oh, that's right. You're from up there. My bad.
Well,
I forgot.
people up there don't
Sorry.
realize. People. I'm not a Patriots fan. I didn't grow up a Patriots fan, but
Oh, but you're Steelers.
like just working at a TV station there as an intern, I had all those little peasant tasks like transcribing audio from practices, and his transcripts would be fairly long. The answer to each question would be fairly long. It's just the way he delivers it, and some of the things he says aren't necessarily like that telling. But he does talk.
Did I tell you the other day? So, in our department, we have a couple GAs, we have a couple student workers, and one of our GAs is a Patriots fan, and I'm like, oh, I'm not really a big Patriots fan, and I said I'm not a huge Tom Brady guy, and he goes, "What if I told you that I think Tom Brady is the greatest athlete of our generation?" And I'm like, I wish you wouldn't.
The greatest athlete?
Maybe like the great. I don't know. I think maybe the greatest player. He said, I don't know, but athlete. I get what you're saying. I don't think he's a great athlete.
He's the best quarterback.
Maybe the best quarterback. Maybe that's what he said.
I would agree with that statement.
No, I don't think
he's not the best athlete on the team.
Okay, to kind of go in with that, do you think like player of the year, MVP, like that argument?
What do you mean?
There's a difference. Are we okay with that?
Player of the year and MVP.
Yeah. Are we okay with saying that?
Okay. Yeah. I go back to MLB a handful of years ago. Whenever Joey Votto was in the discussion for that award, MVP, and the Reds were atrocious.
Yeah. That could have been anything.
There's not much value to being the most valuable player on a bad team because you're still bad. You guys are still bad. Yeah, the best player award would have been a more accurate statement. In a situation like that, those are two totally different things.
So you don't think he should have gotten but still, even though they're bad, he is still valuable to their badness. You could argue if they don't have him, they're substantially worse.
Yeah, but what's the difference between last and nobody in the stands? Or nobody in the stands?
I don't know. Nothing. No
matter how good or bad he is, they're still bad.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
The most outstanding player award would be a better term for that. Or you could have both awards. Why not? We give out awards for everything these days. Back in my day.
You said earlier you're 28.
Yeah, back in my day. We didn't get participation ribbons for participating. We didn't even get them for winning. And we walked uphill both ways to the game.
Do you want to hear a funny story? So a couple weeks ago, I went home. There was a tractor pull. My dad's family is big into tractor pulls. Did I send you this snap? Did I send you this?
No. But I've been to a tractor pull or two in my day. I'm from the middle of nowhere.
I like tractor pulls.
I'm more of a demolition derby guy, but
I don't like demolition derbies as much. I like tractor pulls. And we got to talking about when I was growing up, and we would used to turn stuff in for 4-H things. And I remember one year I turned in a corn stalk from one of my cousin's fields, and somebody else turned in a stalk from the exact same fields, and the other one won and mine didn't.
Are you still mad?
No, I'm not mad. I'm just saying that
Are you saying your cornstalk was just as outstanding, or as
I
bad?
think it was just as
Is that-
good. I think it was just as good. I think they don't. I don't know, but what I'm saying, I don't know. I thought that was an interesting story. But again,
my,
tractor pools. Woo!
my hometown this past weekend. Yesterday, we're recording this on Sunday. On Saturday, they had the Maine Red Hot Dog Festival. And I watched some of the highlights on some of the news stations that were there. And they wonder why I don't want to go back home sometimes. There was one guy they interviewed. He was wearing a hot dog costume.
Yeah, yeah. You sent
And
that one to me.
I sent this to you. I sent this to a lot of people. And I was like, this is where I'm from. He was like, it's just a wonderful time. And they're eating all my children over in the hot dog tent. And I was like, what?
Again, and you did just mention that he's in a hot dog suit.
Yeah. I mean, it's still weird to say.
Yeah.
I could go for a red hot dog.
I mean, I like hot dogs. I know a lot of
Right.
people don't, but I like hot dogs.
I do too.
Do
Very
you
good.
think I saw something the other day that said bologna is just a hot dog sandwich?
I've thought about that. It's not quite. It's not quite. Man, I, I, mm, I get where it's coming from, but
What do you put on hot dogs? What do you put on the red? What are they called? Red snapper? What are they called?
red hot dogs. Some people call them red snappas, but
Red hot dogs. Okay, what do you put on
I,
these red hot dogs?
I mean, you just treat it like a normal dog.
I know, so that's the
So what?
question here. I'm
I
asking
mean,
what you put on hot dogs.
if I just have like a straight up hot dog, I usually just put mustard on it, whether it's a normal hot dog or red hot dog. I used to do
I,
ketchup, but then I became an adult.
I just don't. So I will say, I
Wait, do you
have,
put ketchup on them?
yeah, because yeah, of course I do. But I will say, I have gotten more into mustard in like the last couple months. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I've gotten like,
I got into mustard this year.
yeah, mustard's not bad. I made some poor man's burnt ends the other day with some hot dog, and I had this hot mustard, and they were super good.
Yeah, like a little bit of kick to the mustard. I've got like probably 4 things of mustard in my fridge, just different kinds at this
I
point.
just have one. I got
I
it
don't
at a
even cook that much.
fundraiser. I cook a decent amount, at least once or
Yeah.
twice, at least every other day, probably.
Yeah. Just I have to be in the mood. I like to go all out when I cook though. So, put on that classical music, pop open the bottle of red, get the vibes going. What are you watching now?
I'm watching a show called Barry. That's about, I think it's Bill Hader. Is that his name?
I
Bill.
think so.
He's a hitman who used to be like a Marine. I'm on season 3. I'm not 100% sure how many it has. Um, but I'm also listening to a podcast that's super good. We don't talk about podcasts enough on here.
Is it the Meet the Press podcast that you can find on Apple and Spotify and every other platform?
It's not. It's called Crooked City. It's about Youngstown, Ohio, and like the mob connections in Youngstown, Ohio.
There's mob connections there. I just know it as like a coaching hotbed, football coaching hotbed.
Yeah. It's where Bo Pelini was.
It's where
All
the
right.
Stoopses are from.
Didn't Bo Pelini coach at Youngstown State? Am I making that up?
He might have. But the Stoopses are from Youngstown State to bring this thing full circle.
And they're also in the Missouri Valley Football Conference that
They
SIU
also
is in.
Are they really? They're the Penguins, right?
Yeah, they're the Penguins. Yeah. Do you know what the city newspaper in Youngstown was called? I think it's closed now. Which sucks. Also, shout out to all those for Gannett that lost their jobs on Friday.
Yeah, that
Business
sucks.
sucks. But anyway, no, it was the Vindicator.
That's kind of cool.
I know, isn't it? Isn't it kind of cool?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
dope.
Imagine just being like that. I'm Jared McDonald from the
The
Vindicator.
Vindicator.
Kentucky plays Youngstown State this year.
Ooh.
Are you excited for that game? Are you going to be at Kroger Field?
I don't think so. When is it?
September 17th. I'll be in Indiana.
I don't know where I'll be. I don't know who we have September 17th.
Should we predict win totals eventually on this podcast for the local teams? I don't know much about Louisville. That's the only thing there.
I saw a thing the other day. It was like on the SEC Now or something, and some guy said Tennessee was going 10-2.
Tennessee is going 10? I don't know anything about Tennessee football.
I don't know anything about Tennessee either. September 17th. Oh, we're at Northwestern.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that last week.
Did we?
So I said I was going to be in Indiana. You said you were going to be there. Because the week
Oh,
before,
oh,
I was
no,
like,
I'm
I
going to
could.
Northwestern.
Yeah,
Oh,
the week
yeah, 'cause-
before, I was like, I could swing up to SIU and catch them playing
SEMO.
at 6
The
p.m.
war for
I
the
think.
wheel. War of the wheel.
The War of the Wheel.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite? It doesn't necessarily have to be a rivalry, but a game between two teams, whether that's a name or a trophy
Yeah.
that they play for.
Yeah, it was when I was in Central Illinois. Windsor and Stu Strauss. Stu Strauss was Stewartson Strasburg. So Stewartson Strasburg was a co-op high school, and they had a game every year with Windsor, and the game at Stu Strauss was for the green hatchet, and the one at Windsor was for the blue hatchet. And then they combined and made one team, and they were the Hatchets. But they played every year. I covered the last Hatchet game in 2015. 2015.
There are fixing my hair. I'm trying to. There are
Thank you.
3 that stand out to me.
Okay.
That I've been able to cover over the years. Sticking with Prep's football game, Greenwood, Warren East, I believe, the Possum Bowl. The winner gets a stuffed possum head.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing quite like having a possum head in your office all year. The other 2 are with Western, just because of the rivalry names.
Mm-hmm.
100 Miles of Hate, Western's rivalry with Middle Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not that, volatile or energized right now.
Yeah, I don't think
Like,
there's a
there
lot
weren't
of
that
hate
many
there right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like 100 miles of.
It's 100 miles of.
I mean, there was like 10, 12,000 people at the football game last year here in Bowling Green. Western was really good last year. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Like, not a cloud in the sky, like 70, 75 degrees. That was a day to watch football. If there's any day to watch football, it was that one.
Every day. Every day.
The other one the other one was the Moonshine Throwdown.
Ooh, that's a
Unofficial
good one.
nickname with between Western Kentucky and Marshall. It's entering a hiatus with Marshall going to the Sun Belt this year, and them not being on each other's non-conference schedule. But pretty good name, pretty good rivalry. There was some heat there.
Did Brandy Moss play at Bowling Green?
That was probably before the rivalry really got going in 2014.
Oh,
When Western joined Conference USA,
just
because they
missed
had
Randy
that like
Moss.
67-66 shootout game. I believe Marshall was ranked at the time, and Western came in. I think there was a little scrum diddly dum beforehand, a little brouhaha.
Little scrum dilly dum.
Yeah, Elliot Pratt, the guy that had the Western beat reporter job at the Daily News before me, did an oral history of it. Talked to a bunch of people involved and just kind of took quotes and told the story of it. I believe it was on the 5-year anniversary of it, and it was
Ooh,
fantastic. It was so good, so good. I would recommend it. It's one of
that's
those
good times.
pieces that just stands up in time, stands the test of time. It stands the test of time.
What is it? What it stands up.
It stands up. Yeah.
It stands up.
It yeah. It has a long life.
So, to continue on long life, they are really not going to like this. So the prize pick of the week today is my grandmother's birthday. And tomorrow is my mother's birthday. And today is also my cousin Dade's birthday. So,
Everybody's birthday.
yeah. And my Uncle Gary is Tuesday. And my late grandfather is also tomorrow.
So if you had to pick one for the prize pick award winner of the week,
You can make me pick between my mom and my grandma.
we need views, man. We need some debate. We need some hate. No, I'm not gonna make it.
I'm in PR now, man. I'm just mellowed out. I'm just not as angry anymore.
Yeah, but I'm still in the media.
I
I still
know.
need these controversies like Cal and Stoops that I create. But
Yeah, that you guys create, and that I now have to put out fires of you crazy guys. Who would yours be this week?
my prize pig award winner of the week, for those who are just now tuning in, it's an award we give out each week to someone that we just want to recognize. It can be given more than once. It can be a shout out. It can be anything of the sort. Last week, mine was John Calipari.
That was so funny. I forgot about that. I forgot.
And then this week happened. I might give it to him again. It was an exciting week for someone that doesn't cover UK.
That's so awesome.
No, I'm gonna for real though. I'm gonna go back to something we had talked about a little bit. 3 Western Kentucky football players, former football players that I had the chance to cover, made their NFL preseason debuts this week. We talked about Bailey Zappi playing quarterback for the New England Patriots, but Jarrett Stern saw some action Saturday night for Tampa Bay in their game against Miami. Had, I believe, 4 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. He's an undrafted guy. Surprisingly so. I believe he was one of only 3 players since 2000 to win the receiving triple crown, leading the nation in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns last year at Western Kentucky, and the number 1 passing offense in the country. And D'Angelo Malone, made his debut with the Atlanta Falcons. He was picked in the 3rd round of the NFL draft. Defensive player. He had 3 tackles, including 1 for a loss, and Atlanta's win over Detroit on Friday night. So they each got some action over a 3-day period. Just all 3 of those guys, really nice to cover, really great to work with, and really fun to watch. So just shout out to them.
And also, before we end it, shout out to Short Sleeve Hoodies.
Oh, yes. Before we got on here, Tyler was talking about the SIU swag he got, and he was hyping up the short sleeve hoodie. And I went with my short sleeve hoodie today too. And people hate on them.
They're great.
They're super comfy, man.
They're super comfy.
It's like when you want that hoodie weather, but you can't go full hoodie. There's just something about having a hood.
It works. Well, thank you all following along this week. Episode 25. We'll see you next week. Thank you all.